Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. I know I am. Welcome to Boom's Pop-Up Podcast, where today we're going to be discussing and possibly critiquing what we saw with Resident Evil 2, the remake. I'm absolutely blown away. But in order to do that, I had to find a horror fan that could actually be here at 10 o'clock in the morning. And of course, I'm talking about Dean CBL. Welcome, dude. Thanks so much for taking the time to come on today's show and talk everything Resident Evil.
Man, thank you so much for the invite. And anytime to talk Resident Evil is a good time. It may be 10 a.m. for you, but it's 3 p.m. for me. So I'm not up super early. I'm good to go.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm like hyped. Resident Evil. Did you see that shit? Like, that was amazing. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay. Well, listen, you know what? Let's get right into it. What we're here to do today is we're here to talk about Resident Evil 2. And the reason why I decided to do today's show on that particular theme is simply because I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. Now, again, this is not new news to anyone that follows me or watches my content, but I'm a very older gamer. I've been gaming for over 40 years. And in all the years gaming, and I've said this on other shows, Resident Evil 2 on the PlayStation 1 is by far my favorite game of all time. And obviously, when there were rumblings that we were going to get a remake of Resident 2, I actually didn't believe it. I thought that Capcom somehow was going to fall through with this because, like, who remakes a game that's 20 years old? And, you know, what are the chances of that? Dean, did you think this was actually going to happen?
Well, I don't know, because things have been quiet about the game for a while. And when they did announce it a few years ago that they were making it, it was pretty silent for a very long time. But after you've seen that gameplay, you're like, I understand. I understand why it's been taking so long. Like, when they said they were going to remake the game, they were telling you the truth. And this is a proper remake. This isn't like a HD remaster, like some of the lazy ports and stuff like that. This is from the ground up a complete remake. And that trailer was fantastic. The gameplay they showed, like, you can see the comparisons. Like, it's like night and day, like completely night and day. And they've literally blew it out of the water with this. That's what I think.
Well, I mean, look, let me just say this, okay? If you want to go to a site that's going to show you, I mean, like real life, strong, opinionated footage, go to GameSpot. They showed 17 minutes of someone playing this game. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not the biggest GameSpot fan. Obviously, we've talked about this on numerous shows. They go out of their way to dump on Microsoft, and they've been doing it for quite a while. So I don't normally promote the site. But I have to say, the amount of footage that they showed of Resident Evil 2, the remake, was astounding. I am going to say this, though. Whoever was playing the game, not that good. Really not that good of a game player.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Dean, talk about it. I mean, they're constantly getting eaten. They walked past everything that popped up with an X. They picked up literally nothing. It seemed a little wacky to me. Did you get the same feeling?
Yeah, it's always like that, though, when you're watching gameplay videos. Like, it's always awkward or something like that when you see it. And it's like, you're thinking, because you're watching it from, like, GameSpot or IGN or something like that, you think they're going to have people that know how to play games or people that are decent or better than that. And then when you watch it, you're like, it's like they never played a game before. Like, I know it does take an adjustment after you pick up a game. But if you're familiar with Resident Evil or other games in that type of genre, the buttons are more or less the same. It's like that for most games. So I don't know why they weren't picking things up, but it was hard to watch at parts. But not because of the game.
Yeah, it was played pretty bad. But I'm going to say this. We were talking a little bit off the air, and I kind of just want to back it up a bit before we dive really deep into Resident Evil 2. Like I said, I have always been a huge Capcom fan. I mean, this generation, I'm a huge Ubisoft fan because of everything that they've put out. But back in the days, during the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, heck, even the NES and Super NES days, I was a huge Capcom fan. A lot of my friends that are probably in the chat are going to laugh because I used to call my friend up all the time before I actually had a computer. And I used to ask him, "Hey, dude, any Capcom news?" It was hilarious. It was like he was reporting to me. It was so funny. Um, and a lot of people don't know this. Prior to the release of Resident Evil 7, which came out on January 25th of 2017, yes, 2017, the company was in really big trouble. They were in ginormous financial trouble where they were not putting out new games. Dean, take it away. You know a little bit about this.
Yeah, like they said that they like because they weren't doing great. Their games weren't selling as well, and they were just hitting a big wall, a struggle. And if it wasn't for Microsoft and Sony, we wouldn't have had games like Dead Rising 3 and Dead Rising 4, Street Fighter. Like those games were only made because they made exclusive deals. They were the ones that paid to make the games and publish it with Capcom. Like, and they started to do. Capcom were doing HD remasters for like a while. They were doing the HD remaster for the original Resident Evil. They ported some games over to the Xbox One. Devil May Cry 4. They also done DMC, the reboot one. They also ported that to the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Like they were just doing lots of ports and slight HD remasters with like the least amount of work done. Like they upgraded it to 1080p, but that's about it. Probably increased the frame rate, but they didn't put any extra detail. They were doing quick and easy jobs. But I don't know what it takes to make a game. But when I'm saying from doing a complete remake of a game to just doing a port, it's night and day. So it's a lot easier, I assume. So they were just doing that. They were getting money because those games were still selling. Like lots of people were still going to buy Devil May Cry 4 on the Xbox One and the rebooted one. So they were making money for that. Then they invested. They made Resident Evil 7. And they made all the right choices with Resident Evil 7. That game went back to its horror roots.
Yes.
Like after just talking about Resident Evil 6, after
terrible.
Resident Evil 6.
Terrible.
It's like you kind of lost hope in a way for the franchise. Considering Resident Evil 6 was like just all over the place.
Well, it played more like Gears of War than it did Resident Evil.
It's like, yeah, what is this? Like it went insane. It was just action, no horror. It was completely different. Like since Resident Evil 4, they did have it a little bit more action orientated, and then Resident Evil 5 had the co-op. But it was still alright. Some people like to hate on Resident Evil 5. I thought it was fine. It wasn't pushing it too much. But then they just went insane with Resident Evil 6. But they made all the right choices by going back to the roots of Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2. Like the original trilogy, they went back to, okay, it's going to be scary again. You're not going to have enough ammo. And because they made all the right choices that the fans wanted, that game sold. And like, what were you saying? How many millions? How many copies did they sell?
They sold, the last time I checked, they sold, and wasn't shipped. This was actually sold copies, 5 million copies.
5 million, well deserved.
Yeah, and it could be more than that. It's probably somewhere around maybe 6.5 million at this point. Needless to say, it was a huge success. And you want to talk about success? Look
at success too. Like that got like praise from everyone, like from Resident Evil fans, from review sites. Not only did it sell a shit ton of copies, it was also praised as it returned the form, and that's amazing for Capcom to bring out a game that didn't only just sell well, it was also received well. So they know now where to take Resident Evil 8 or the future of the franchise. They know that this is what works and this is what people want.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and let's talk success about Capcom for a second, because if you look back to what they've done in this particular generation, they obviously have made Dead Rising 3 and Dead Rising 4. Obviously, 3 being the better of the two, though I beat both of them. Those were deals that were obviously exclusive at the time for Microsoft, and Microsoft had a hand in helping them with the production of that regarding cash. And then they made a deal with Sony with Resident Evil, with Street Fighter 5, which unfortunately kind of really limped out of the door. I mean, the game was released You ever eat a
It
piece of
was
cake?
missing so much
Yeah,
content.
I was gonna say,
So much.
you ever pull out something early from the oven, like a cake, and it's like literally still batter? Well, that's what, unfortunately, that's what Street Fighter Five was, and it didn't get any real solid content, like story-based content, which the game is supposed to be.
Not for
From
like a year and a half
Oh
or a
my
year
God,
or something.
it was terrible. So they obviously didn't do a good job with them, right? And this is probably where we're talking about when it runs into money troubles with Capcom. So now I want to kind of move on to the positive part of Capcom, and we're going to talk about success. Resident Evil 7, critical acclaim by fans and critics alike, right? Now we move on to Monster Hunter Worlds. I didn't know what the public was going to dig on this game, but you're a big player of it. In fact, you're still playing it.
Yeah,
How important was this to follow up Resident Evil 7 for Capcom?
not only was this important for Capcom Success, and because they were doing a bold move, like when they announced Monster Hunter World, it was completely out of nowhere. No one was expecting a console Monster Hunter. For the last few years, Monster Hunter has been exclusive to Nintendo 3DS, and that's where the last few games have been releasing. So when they announced Monster Hunter World for the Xbox One and PS4, not only was it a surprise that it was coming out on the consoles like PS4, because it was a big surprise that it was releasing on the Xbox One, given the type of game it was. That
Yeah.
would be more associated with like the PlayStation 4. So the fact that they actually made an Xbox One version was fantastic, and the fact that this sold 7 million, was it?
Yes, they've sold over
Seven
7
million
million copies.
copies.
Yeah, and it's still selling.
It's still, yeah, like still sound like the Monster Hunter games have sold extremely well on the 3DS, but for the fact that this released to great reviews and selling more than the 3DS versions, like just goes to show that because they've been making Monster Hunter games for the last few years, like this is a long running franchise. Like they know how to make a Monster Hunter game. So when they made the first console version, they put everything into it. The game looks great. It's so insane and fun to just fight monsters that are so big and enormous and just crazy to look at. And you're like, holy shit, it's so fun to fight this. You don't even realize that it takes 20 minutes to a half an hour to kill one of them because you're just having so much fun most of the time. The only part that's annoying is actually looking for the creatures if that can take a little bit too long. But when you're fighting them, like you're having the time of your life. It's so fun. And I am still currently playing this game. I don't be playing it like every day, but it's one of my games that I go back to because they have been supporting this game so well since it released. They've had festival events. They're adding monsters for free. What was it? 2 monsters they announced at E3?
Yes, and aren't they doing? They didn't they team up with Square for something also?
Oh yeah, that's one of the monsters is from
Yes,
Final Fantasy or something like that.
yes.
They also had a Devil May Cry crossover where there wasn't any monsters from Devil May Cry added into the game, but they had a special event where they had a few really hard to kill monsters, and if you bet them, like there was Devil May like Dante's outfit was in the game, and they were like rare drops. You had to like get the material to make his armor
Oh, that's
during this
awesome.
event. So you'd probably have to do it for a while because Monster Hunter World is a grindy game. You're going to be doing the same stuff over and over again, similar to Destiny, The Division. It's just that type of game. You either like it or you don't. But if you like it and you like earning your loot and working hard to get it, Dante's outfit was in the game for a week. You had your chance to get it. If you did, well, then I'm jealous because I didn't. I didn't get it. So yeah, you're gonna be a badass looking Dante Monster Hunter. So that's pretty sick. So yeah, the content, the updates, like they've been improving the game with updates, fixing the frame rate issues and stuff like that. They've just been killing it. That they're being like the fact that this was successful. I hope that means they're going to continue to support this longer than they initially intended, because the player base is there.
Right. So now, okay. So we have back-to-back hits from Capcom, and a couple of weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, we get some information from investors meeting that they had that Capcom had confirmed that 2 major games were going to release in their fiscal year. and their fiscal year was from March of 2018 through March of 2019. And of course, E3 comes along, and we have our faces blown off with the in the Microsoft conference by Devil May Cry 5, which looks absolutely insane, and for a lot of reasons. Ninja Theory, in my opinion, did a fantastic job with the rebooting the Devil May Cry series, but longtime fans didn't dig the way that they took the character. Okay, and I get that. You know, remember we had 4 Devil May Cries prior to the reboot, and basically, I don't know if the game sold well or not, but a Dante without white hair and being the wise ass that he is, I don't know if that's the Dante that we all know and love. And that's why when I heard rumors on the 4chan forums that a Devil May Cry 5 was in production, I was really taken aback, because Devil May Cry 4 was fantastic. You know, it introduced a whole bunch of new characters. And, you know, the last time that game came out, I think it was 10 years ago. So for them
so long ago.
yeah,
Too long.
It's a very long time ago. So when they showed that trailer, man, I mean, the Devil
I jumped off my seat when I seen that.
Too.
I was like, holy
I agree.
shit. Like, it looked amazing. Like, it was just, like, graphically, like, even though it was a CGI cutscene type of thing, it looked amazing. Like Nero looks so different, but similar at the same time, if you get me. Like I knew it was Nero. The second, even though his hand was missing, he had like a robot hand. The fact that it was blue kind of gave it away. Like, I seen some people think it was Dante, but if you play Devil May Cry 4, you know that's Nero. Like,
Right.
there are slight differences. Like, it's not like, I know you see the white hair, so you just assume it's Dante. But I really like Nero from the Devil May Cry 4, and I like the fact that they announced that there's going to be 3 playable characters.
Yes.
So they're putting a lot into this, and I'm super hyped and excited.
Well, listen, we're going to talk about what we're you know, obviously what the title of the show is, and that of course is Resident Evil 2 the remake. And from now to the end of the show, it's going to be all RE. But I kind of, you know, I said this before, and I'll say it again, and I think you appreciate this, Dean. When we come on the show, or I do a show, I don't want it to be just like everyone else's show or everyone else's podcast. The reason why you tune into my channel is because not only are you going to get it straight, but you're going to get opinions that are valid, and you're also going to get someone who's just as excited as you as a gamer. This isn't a money-making scheme that I'm trying. So when I say this is an informational podcast, I don't want to just say, okay, Capcom and Resident Evil 2 remake, because maybe if you're new to gaming, you don't know who Capcom is. It is possible, right? There are a younger generation of gamers that are just finding games, and maybe they don't know what Resident Evil 2 is, or Devil May Cry, or Monster Hunter World, right? So,
or Aminushu.
right. Oh, well, I mean, if you don't know those games, maybe this is not the right hobby for you. But, you know, we have to appeal to everyone. So from now on, it's going to be all Resident Evil 2 talk, and I really want to get into your opinion on what you observed as a fan, and were you as excited as I am based on the footage shown?
Yeah, like when I seen that footage, I was blown away. Like, I didn't know what it was going to be. Like, the fact that they said it was going to have to kind of over shoulder camera, like, I just didn't know. Like, I wasn't really thinking, how is this going to work? But when you watch that gameplay, like, it's just so smooth. The movement, like the fact that they've put in, like, they completely remade everything. The city, like, you have so much more freedom to move around, and like, the game is so dark. Like, it is dark,
Scary,
like,
dark.
You need that flashlight. Like, if you don't have that flashlight, you are dead. Yeah, but it's very dark. The zombies, the detail on the zombies, the fact that when you shoot a zombie, like, you're gonna be shooting off pieces of skin.
Yep.
Like, there's gonna be actual damage to the bodies while you're, like, shooting them. If you shoot them with a shotgun, you're gonna really mess them up. Like, I was hands down blown away by this, because it it was well more than I thought it was going to be. It was like I was hyped and excited for this already, but they delivered. They over delivered with its gameplay. Obviously, I have not seen the full game, but everything I've seen so far has just been positive. There hasn't been anything that they've announced or shown for the game, like different changes that I've disagreed with. Like Resident Evil 2 has 4 scenarios on the game that you can pick. Leon A, Leon B.
Correct.
And yeah, but I've seen that they're going to be changing that. Instead of having 4 scenarios, it's just going to have the 2 campaigns.
Correct.
Leon and Claire.
That's correct.
So, like, it's going to like fix the timelines and stuff. It's going to make things make more sense and stuff like that. It's just like even that makes sense that they're doing that. Like they're just going to be fitting a lot more stuff into one campaign each. And the fact that there are 2 campaigns just gives you the extra reason to play it again. So, like, I'm hyped. I'm excited. I'm trying to think of something. I really want to say something bad, but it's really hard.
Listen, if there's nothing bad to say, there's nothing bad to say. What I'm gonna do.
Not out now. That's it.
Yeah, that's that. If I had to say one thing, I got to be honest. One of my predictions were I got like an A and B kind of prediction because I had a prediction that we were going to see it on the Sony stage. That came true because obviously when you think of Resident Evil, you think of Sony because that is where the series was born.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was surprised that Devil May Cry was on the Xbox stage. So
me too.
It makes sense for Sony to have something Capcom related.
Well, I'm going to say this. I, as a fan, I'm obviously over the moon hyped. But I am sad that we have to wait until January 25th, 2019.
Just imagine how much worse it would have been though if it said like September 2019 or something.
God, I would have died.
Like that, it said January. I kind of was relieved at the same time that it's not that much longer.
Well, I mean, think about this for a second. We are in a position now where, you know, the fall isn't just the heavy month for games. Sure, it still is. You know, September to November, and you get a big one snuck in there in December. This year in December, we have Just Cause 4 and we have Smash Brothers. Those are going to be big games. But pretty much the brunt of your wallet is going to be from September to November. And obviously, those are the biggest games. So to be completely honest, even though I think Resident Evil 2, the remake, could handle its own against even as big as Red Dead, January seems to be a good month for Capcom when it comes to releasing games. In fact,
that's when they released the remaster, I think, too.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes. So I mean, this is a good month. It's the beginning of the year. It's literally a month away, past Christmas. So people are starting to get some money back in their pockets. And at that point of the year, there's usually nothing to play. So in my opinion, I think this is going to not only sell well for Capcom, I think we're going to see maybe 2 to 3 million copies in the month that it comes out, even though it's coming out late. I think that everyone who's a fan will usually tell you that Resident 2 is their favorite. And I think that this is going to sell well.
It's not my favorite. Most people, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I'm not putting everybody under an umbrella, but for the most part, most people will tell you. Yeah, you get it, right? Umbrella. So listen, let's talk about what we know. And then what we can speculate on, because speculation in gaming podcasts is really what we do, and it's fun for not only us as guests and hosts, but it's fun for the fans listening. And what we know is this: January 25th, 2019. Take the week off, folks, because you're gonna need one. You're gonna want to play this game, right? So we know the release date. As it stands right now, we know that there is no A and B scenario, and I'm okay with that. And I'll break that down as to why I'm okay with that, because a lot of people were a little taken aback with like, well, I don't understand, whatever. Listen, each campaign is probably going to be between 15 and 20 hours in length, right? And if they're 2 separate campaigns, you're going to pay $60. You're going to get 30 hours of brand new story that, again, it's going to follow Resident Evil 2, but there's going to be some changes. We know that confirmed by Capcom that there's the fourth survivor, which is going to be Tofu. And we know that there's going to be a hunk, which is obviously the Umbrella operative known as Mr. Death, he's going to have his own campaign. Now, we don't know if Ada Wong is going to get her own campaign. That'd be really great if she did. But we know that she's going to be in the game. We know Sherry Birkin's going to be in the game. We don't know, if she's going to possibly have like a little bit of a campaign. Some of the other things that we do know is that based on certain pictures, if you're a fan of Resident Evil 3, which is, again, one of my number 2 favorite of all time.
That's my favorite.
If you look in the background in one of the still shots, they have a still shot picture of the clock tower from Resident 3, which is a really big point of battle between Jill and the Nemesis. So, I mean, the question that I have for you, Dean, is it possible that we're going to see other areas of Raccoon City that are new that we've never been privy to? What do you think on that?
It really just depends on how much they're expanding the city. I've already seen them say that there is going to be a lot more to the city because you're going to have a lot more freedom to walk around. So I'd like for everything to return. I'd like if they added in some new places, like even like 2 new locations. That'd be nice because it is a remake. You're not expecting them to like completely like add in like 20 new areas or something like that. But they've already proved that they are going to be adding things and changing certain things. If it suits the game, they're going to do it. Right. So I hope that everything that was already previously in it is in it, redone. If there's any areas that particular fans like that are known that aren't liked in the game, hopefully they put a lot more work into them to kind of make them more enjoyable.
Right.
And hopefully there's at least like 2 minimum, I think, hopefully, to 5 new areas in the game, like big space areas that you can just run around in and just get attacked by a lot of zombies. But yeah, I really do hope they have a few new areas.
Yeah, Dan. Sorry.
I seen an article saying that the Xbox One X and PS4 Pro are going to have a 4K 30 mode, and then there's the 1080p 60 FPS mode. Just for the people that have their X's or Pros. If you want to play this game, this beautiful looking game already in 4K, then you have the option. That's just another upgrade. And I think that's fantastic.
Me personally, I would probably play it in 4K 30. I know that some people like need the 60 FPS. You know what? I would be okay with the 4K 30 because it's really going to get into the detail. Let's talk about some of the things that we don't know. Okay. Obviously they showed a lot of the game, but they didn't show too much of the game. They stayed mostly in that little hub area when you first walk into the RPD headquarters, right? They showed where where some of the puzzles were, some of the offices. You ran into a character or 2. Surprisingly enough, they didn't show the gun shop owner from the original Resident Evil 2. Where obviously, you start out with Leon, you run there first. But I am going to, yes, that's correct. But I am going to say this: being that Resident Evil 7 had a PlayStation VR mode, I'm almost guaranteeing there's going to be some sort of VR mode for Resident Evil 2 on the PlayStation side. Would you play this game in VR, possibly at a first-person perspective?
If I had someone with me and I had a VR headset for free, yes, I'd totally try it out. But I don't think I'd last very long, to be honest. I'm pretty sure, if a horde of zombies ran at me, I'd be like, yoink, take this off. Too real. Like, no. I don't know, but like that makes sense. Like Resident Evil 7, I'm pretty sure like everyone that played the VR on that mode loved it. Everyone said that was such a good thing that they had in it. Yes. It was very enjoyable. Even the PS4 version's VR was pretty good. So if they are able to incorporate VR onto the PS4 for this game, I think it's gonna be a little bit more demanding because from what I see, like this is gonna be a bigger game in
Oh, for
general with the
sure.
two
Yes.
campaigns.
Yep.
So it depends if the PS4 is gonna be able to run it. If like was the PS4 was the VR available on the base PS4 or was it only for the Pro?
No, no, they worked on both. Both. Obviously, if you had the Pro, it ran better. There's no doubt about it.
Like I can see it working on the Pro. I don't know about the base PS4, but if they're doing everything like has to work on the PS4 and the Pro, well then I don't know if they're gonna do it. But if they announce it just before it releases at Gamescom or something like that, because that's gonna be another show where things are gonna get shown off, and there's gonna be a few more throughout the year. So they have plenty of announcements that they could make with this game, and VR can definitely be one of them because it will be one that would push VR headsets, and it
Yes,
will
for
also
sure.
help sell this
Yes.
game to super hardcore horror fans that will just be like, I need to experience that in a VR headset. Like that will totally push sales. I'll totally do it if I had one. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say this because it's not open world per se, but it's a much bigger environment and space that you're going to be running around in. So I don't necessarily know if the entire game would be in VR, kind of like Resident Evil 7, though I will say this. Capcom does have a good relationship with Sony. I mean, that's blatantly obvious. But I can see them having a separate campaign, maybe of another survivor, maybe an Ada Wong story, in first person, something to say, well, if you buy it on the PlayStation 4, you're going to get this game. It's going to look good here, but you're also going to get this. If you have PlayStation VR, take advantage and play this scenario only available on PlayStation VR. It'd be definitely a good marketing tool for sure. I am definitely buying this on multiple platforms. Like we talked in the pregame, I beat Resident Evil 7 a total of 5 times. 3 times on the Xbox One, twice on the PlayStation 4, attempted to start playing in VR and realized that if I wanted to continue living and enjoying my pension, that I would not give myself a heart attack and make my wife a widow. So I played the kitchen demo just to see, how I would take it in VR. And when they rolled the head, I lifted up my feet as if the head was going to hit my feet. I realized that maybe VR just was not for me in this particular game. So I did not
Can I
continue.
ask you something real fast?
Sure.
When you played the VR version, was that after you beat the game a few times?
Yes, I did. I kind of knew what I think.
The fact that it still scared you, that goes to
Yes.
show the power of VR. You know, like that. You know what's coming. You know where the enemies are, and stuff like that. You have the general gist of where you're going, and you were still afraid. Like that just adds to it. You know.
I mean, look, the guy running around, the Jack that was running around, he turned up everywhere, and I didn't have, trying to be panicked and get away from him with the controller in your hand was enough. But to try and see that in VR, and you're trying to get into a door and run down, and you turn around, it was just too much. It really was too much. Again, if you beat it in VR, kudos to you. I would probably still try it. I actually may even try it because now that I'm talking about it out loud, I'm like, damn, I really wanted to experience that in VR. Maybe I got the short end of the stick. I may try it for sure.
You can do it.
Yes, I'm going to give it the old college effort. So let's talk about the zombies. If you remember playing the Resident Evil 2 original on the PlayStation 2 back in the days, those graphics were incredible. I mean, you look at them now and you're like, my God, my eyes are bleeding. Right?
Yeah, no, it's hard to believe when you look at
the
them
control is just woofa. It's just it's not good. And I know a couple of people in the chat mentioned that Noof Nukem, good friend of the show, good friend of mine, may said that the tank controls were terrible, and he's absolutely right. But let's talk about the zombies and how different all of them are. I mean, you got to remember, this I didn't know what to expect. I expected that the game was going to be handled with class and respect because Capcom has made all the right moves in the last 18 months, and this is an iconic a game in their franchise in the Capcom book of franchises, right? This is like at the top of everyone's favorite list, not yours, Dean, because yours is 3. But most
Yeah,
people,
I love 3 because of Nemesis, though.
yes, Nemesis is one of my favorite characters in the whole series. But so we knew that they were going to handle this with class and respect to not only the characters and the lore, but to the fans that are going to be possibly buying this game. So one of the things that I immediately, right out of the gate, realized is when they showed the in-game cutscenes, the zombies look like you would expect. It's when they showed the actual terrible journalists playing the games, playing Resident Evil 2 the remake, that I realized how special this title was going to be. Let's talk about it. First of all, they had zombies of every shape and size, right? They had big fat ones, they had real skinny ones, and they had, muscular ones, guys that were in shape that are now dead.
Ones that were cut in half and
Yes,
just everything.
right.
Like,
But more specifically, they had females, right? They had female zombies. And what's I found to be absolutely astounding as a fan of the series is that even though you're in a police station and the police officers that were dead are going to be wearing uniforms, there were a lot of people that were civilians and they all were dressed differently. I mean, that is really talk about detail. Talk about really putting in the hard man hours to make sure that it looks realistic. Dean, what was your take on seeing all these different shapes, sizes, and different clothes on the zombies?
that was something that I noticed straight after the amazing graphics and the third person car. I like, holy shit, like all the zombies are different. You're playing a game that the developers are putting their heart and soul into when they're going that far with the detail and not just copy paste the same zombie a million times, or they make 5 presets and copy and paste that. You know what I'm saying? Like they make a few, but look, there were so many just different looking zombies just in this 17-minute gameplay video. Like I'd be surprised if they just did it for the gameplay video and they were the same zombies getting copied and pasted. Like I fully believe that they are putting a lot, or whatever system they have in place to randomize these zombies. It's going to be it's going to be amazing for the game, because it's not going to look like, oh, I killed this zombie like 20 times already, because so many games do that with their whole, they make a few enemies and then it's just the same enemy over and over again, like the same look, everything. So I was very happy with this. It showed that they do care, and it just goes to show like how much attention to detail and love that they're putting out for the Resident Evil series, that they know this game is loved. They know they have to put everything into it, because if they wreck this game, there's already a massive fan base that are going to be shouting at them.
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt about it that again, they have heard from the fans, and I just kind of want to give a little bit of a backstory, because a lot of people do understand that this game was announced 3 years ago with the "We Do It" shirt. The producer, came on camera. He had the white shirt with black lettering saying "We Do It," right? And fans were screaming for this, and they're getting it done. A lot of people I've been following this really close, and for obvious reasons, I'm a fan. But a lot of people don't know why it took so long. And the reason why, and I'll break that down today, is because at one point, this was tried on with different graphic settings. First, they tried it with the original fixed camera, and that obviously was a disaster. Then they brought in some fans, and I wish I was one of those lucky fans to see what this thing looked like, but I'm glad they're not doing it. They tried it in first person based on on Resident Evil 7, and that was a disaster. The fans were like, boo, we don't like it. Then they tried it with the current engine, which is the RE7 engine, but the perspective is the over-the-shoulder camera angle from Resident Evil 4. And everyone was like, yes, this is what we want to do. Now, I get involved in the chats, I get involved in with the forums, and a lot of people were like, I don't really like that. I want to fix cameras. Trust me when I tell you, in 2018, you
You don't
don't
want to
want
fix that.
fixed cameras. I understand no one's a bigger Resident Evil fan than me. I am telling you, you would not appreciate the game. You would not be able to appreciate the detail that's in the game if the cameras were in a particular location and you couldn't move them. You'd be mad as all hell. So I'm glad they went with the RE7 engine, but I'm glad that they went with the RE4 camera angle perspective. Do you think they made the right move, Dean?
Yeah, hands down, I think they made the perfect move. And I honestly would prefer this camera going forward with the Resident Evil series. Obviously, for Resident Evil 7, since it was more centric in a house, and the first person totally suited that game. But I really am a fan of this third person camera, as long as it still has the horror element and it's not just done as an action game, which
Right.
obviously was shown that they nailed it with this game. Like, just
Yes.
from that 17-minute gameplay, like, they have the third person, but it's dark, it's scary. The zombies look fearful, like fearsome. Like, you like they actually looks like they sped the zombies up. Like, they move faster or something,
Yes. Yes, they
because they
do.
were just like, they were moving quick, and you try to get around them from the gameplay, and they just like, nope, grab. Like, they were so much quicker in this compared to the original game. So yeah, as I'm happy with this style. I think it totally suits the game. When you're seeing him, like Leon crawl under like with flashlight, like, it just looks amazing. Like, I think I'm happy with it.
Now here's a little food for thought. I'm going to kind of throw this out there because Noof just mentioned co-op. That he played Resident Evil 5 in co-op. He lived there, according to Noof. Could you just imagine for a second if they're, I'm not saying that they're going to make the game co-op, because it would obviously change the entire game, right? It would logistically change the game, and it could possibly ruin the story. We understand that at some points in the game, Leon and Claire Redfield meet up, right? We do know that. But we also know that Leon's story effectively is to deal with half of the game and Ada Wong, whereas Claire Redfield is going to be dealing with Sherry Birkin and protecting her from the father, who has been turned into a tyrant. But would it be pretty damn amazing if there was some sort of a mode in the game where you could logistically be, maybe, let's say, Umbrella operatives, in the form of like their hunks, if you will, and play the game, or play a part of the game, like maybe a prequel part. I think we're going to see that. Again, this is not, I have no inside information. I didn't even read this on the 4chan forums. I'm just mentioning it for food for thought, to kind of get the chat talking. Dean, if there was a co-op mode, would that be important to this game? Obviously not in the main game for the story, because we can't change that too much. It is a remake of the original Resident 2. But as a side story, would you be into that?
Yeah, definitely. If anything extra is added onto the game that's not just the campaigns, that's like a bonus. I'm not really going to complain, because it's something extra that I wasn't even expecting to be on the game.
Right.
And I'm a fan of co-op. Like, I'm not a fan of Resident Evil 6 co-op, but Resident Evil 5 I was fine with. Like, it was action-packed, but it wasn't to the extreme as Resident Evil 6. And also, the story in Resident Evil 5 was at least decent compared to Resident Evil 6. Just everything wrong with Resident Evil 6. Okay? But no, co-op, if they did that and they didn't change it to make it an action-packed game, making it completely different from what the story mode is on the game already. Like, if they were to add a co-op mode but made you super OP, but in the story mode you're Leon and you're weak, you don't have many weapons, it just wouldn't seem like to fit the game, if you know what I'm saying. It'll just feel different being this OP co-op character compared to what you're like when you're playing as Leon or Claire. But if they were to do some co-op survival mode where it's still scary, there's horror in it, like I'm a fan of it. if they were to do like the campaign, like you said, like a little prequel thing, having a scary ammo scarce, like I'd be totally sold for that. If I the most thing that they've been adding recently to Resident Evil games, if they have been putting on multiplayer modes, is their mercenaries mode. So that'd be the thing I think of most that they'd be putting on it if they were to try get like stuff on it with character skins and stuff like that to make extra money. I'd be thinking, oh, they're gonna have a mercenaries mode, but there will be slight changes to make it harder and stuff like that. Because I'm actually a fan of mercenaries. I loved it in Resident Evil 4, loved it in Resident Evil 5. I actually thought it was okay in Resident Evil 6 because I liked doing the whole jumping backwards and rolling on the ground. Like I liked the gameplay of Resident Evil 6. It was fun. But yeah, I'd be a fan for co-op. If it didn't change the original game that they were shipping, I'd be a fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like you said, I think actually you hit a really good point. Anything extra that goes outside of what we're getting in the Resident Evil 2 remake, where I think is a bonus. I think we're going to get some sort of VR for sure. I definitely think I'm interested to see, and I you know how I feel about collector's editions. Everyone that follows me knows that I'm a collector's edition freak. I don't buy them all. It's got to be special. Can't be just a rubber mask or something stupid like, let's say, State of Decay 2. Terrible collector's edition, and it didn't come with the game. Terrible. But I'm interested to see what collector's edition could possibly be announced before the game comes out. Now, we know two editions. Your standard $60 one, and there's, I believe, an $80 one. And I'm assuming that the $80 one is going to have, obviously, DLC. You know, it's going to have a bunch of outfits, which is, you know, Resident Evil is notorious for. But is it going to have DLC somewhere down the line? Now, I'm going to tell you this. Like I said earlier in the show, I have kept my ear very close to the 4chan forums. And a lot of people that are on there are full of S. No doubt about it. But there are some people that really have solid inside Capcom information. And if you, like I said, we were talking off air. If you recall, 8 months ago when I did a story on my channel, everything they said came true. And what I read recently was, if this does well, the Capcom themselves are going to greenlight a remake of Resident 3. And
so everyone, you have to buy it twice.
Listen, I'm buying it twice because I want to play it on multiple consoles. I will beat this game at least half a dozen times. In fact, I beat Resident 2. I want to say, I know folks are gonna be like, "No, I can't believe Boom's lying." At least 50 times over the course of the GameCube, the PlayStation 2, and wherever else I had it. I had it everywhere Resident 2 was. I was there. And I would buy this game twice. I'm hoping that a Switch version eventually is released. We know that the Resident Evil 7, a Switch version, is going to be made available in Japan to start, and it's going to be cloud-based. So that's where it's going to handle most of the graphics, you know, heaviness of the game. But I would imagine that they could pull off. I mean, listen, if you're going to play Resident 2, the remake, on a vanilla PS4 or a launch Xbox One, which is just as powerful as a Switch, you could probably play that on a Switch. I will buy it there too. Dean, do you have a PlayStation 4 or you don't?
Oh no, I have a PS4.
Okay,
and I have an Xbox.
Being a fan of the game, would you consider buying this twice, or are you going to just stick to one platform and call it a day?
If I had the extra funds, I'd be totally up for it. But come January, just after Christmas, I'll more likely only be able to afford it for the Xbox. And, you know, February does have the release of, like, Crackdown and a bunch of other games. So February is going to be a crazy month for games, too. There's not going to be a break for the first few months into the year. There isn't anymore. So many crazy games. But I really do hope every Resident Evil fan that is impressed by this and is impressed with everything that they show leading up to the release, and when it hopefully gets the reviews it deserves, if they don't mess it up, hopefully this game succeeds, because I would literally love to play a remake done to this extreme for Resident Evil 3. Like, just imagine seeing the detail on a Nemesis right now. Like, in 2020 or something, whenever that comes out, 2021. Like, imagine how good that would look, like, and how scary it would be having Nemesis chase you
Oh
down,
man.
put his hand on you, lift you up, and go, bye bye, just kill you. Like, and the memories I have, like, I loved the original Resident Evil in the Mansion. I really enjoyed Resident Evil 2. It's the one that I remember the least, but I do remember a good bit of it. I haven't played it in a very long time, but I am hyped for it. Resident Evil 3 is the one that I played the most, and I really enjoyed it. I loved Code Veronica X.
Yeah,
I love Resident
fantastic.
Evil. Like, I love Resident Evil. I need to get my shit together and stop being afraid so I can finally clear Resident Evil 7.
Oh, dude, come on. You gotta get on that, dude.
Yeah, I'll stream it so that way I'll have people with me. I'm like, hi people. I'm just gonna be like screaming every like 5 seconds. It's like, no, but seriously, hope this does well because from what they showed, they have the gameplay nailed. They have the look, the feel. They just have to release a solid game that's not launched with bugs and glitches, and I'm sure the fans will do what they did for Resident Evil 7 and make it succeed with millions of sales.
Like I said, I think that this game is going to. Again, this is an early prediction, folks. I could be wrong. I'm not an analyst. I don't get paid for this. This is completely my opinion. Resident Evil 7, a lot of people, though it sold well, a lot of people were a little taken aback with the fact that it was in first person. First time for the series, a mainstream series that was in first person. So yes, it sold 5 million, possibly somewhere around 6.5, 7 million now. Game's still selling well. But because it's going to be back to its third person roots, and it's a remake of one of many very classic Resident Evil tales, I think that this is going to sell even better. And I hope it does, because to be completely honest, as great as Resident Evil 2 is, and is still my all-time favorite game, Resident Evil 3 was magnificent. And the idea that we could get an updated, like you were saying, Nemesis running around chasing you, breaking through walls, picking you up, throwing you around with his tentacles is just amazing. And if it looks, just again, we've seen Resident 2 running and it looks astounding. It looks absolutely well worth the 20-year wait that we've waited to get it. I could just imagine what 3 would look like with Jill and Carlos and the rest of the people that are in that tale in those graphics. I can actually see that happening. So I'm going to be getting on my bullhorn when this game comes out in January, and I will be selling copies for Capcom, though I won't get a dime of it. It's fine. I'm a fan, and fans do the extreme.
When it comes to Resident Evil 4, they don't have to do anything because they re-released that game so much.
You know what?
It's okay.
I don't think that they need to. You know what? I hate to say this. Sure, it would be great to see redone in these kind of graphics, of course, and any game would, Resident Evil related. But I would love to see, like you just said it, a remake of Code Veronica.
Hell yeah. That graveyard scene at the start and all that. Like, that'd be so scary. It'd be so, like, that game is crazy and it's a pretty good length also. Like, there's so much to that game.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you know what? I want to say something else that was confirmed that I totally forgot about, and a lot of people were a little upset. Originally, it was reported that the Alligator was going to be left out of Resident Evil 2. And obviously, this game, Resident Evil 2, is very much based on fan feedback. They really went to the fans, the diehard fans, to get their reaction. And it is confirmed by the director that they felt it would be almost insulting to fans that the entire Alligator scene was going to be removed. So it is in the game. Where exactly it's going to show up, I don't know if it's going to follow verbatim. But anyone that's a fan and was like, wow, the Alligator scene was amazing. It was short, but it was amazing because you exploded guts all over the place. It's going to be there. How do you feel about them keeping that in there, Dean?
Well, I wasn't aware of that.
Oh, okay.
I was aware that they were changing things because in the gameplay that has been released from E3, there was the part where the liquor was supposed to attack, and it didn't. And I'm pretty sure they changed where the first encounter with the liquor happens to a different point in the game. So I knew they were changing certain things. Like they changed the starting of the where you get the shotgun. You don't get it off that guy anymore. You actually get it in the police station now. So they are changing things and when you get things like so I didn't know anything about the crack at all. But the fact that it's still in the game, I assume they're probably gonna have it a lot later. Or it could happen even sooner than it was originally, and it probably isn't the exact same to the exact same extent. It could be shorter. Um, but yeah, I was aware that they were changing things. I just didn't know about the crocodile thing. But I'm all up for changes like that. If they're not taking anything too important out, if they're just replacing it in parts that suits the game and it's not wrecking the
Right.
flow, that's going to make it a completely different experience. Like for me, I wouldn't notice as much because, like I said, it's the one I remember the least. But I did love it. You played this game, you said like a shit ton of times, like over 9,000.
Yes.
So yeah, you played this a lot, so you're gonna remember it a lot more than me. So the fact that they are changing it, and if they're not wrecking it at the same time, that's gonna at least make it on top of this whole new gameplay experience. At least certain things are gonna be different from what you remember. So that's adding a new layer, I think, to the game in a
Well,
good
I
way.
am. Yeah, well, there is another change that was confirmed. Well, hold on a sec. It was spoken about on the 4chan forums, which is where I got most of my information from. But there is a female liquor as opposed to just being a male one in the remake. They did not show it. They showed a liquor per se, but we didn't see whether or not it was going to be female or not. I'm interested to see, again, subtle changes like that. I could totally dig. I know that there was some talk about the Mr. X, which is the guy that breaks through the wall with he's like the trench coat guy. They kind of changed his face a little bit. Before it was just kind of like a gray, flat gray with white eyes.
Yeah, I seen the comparisons for that. I
Yeah,
think it looks a lot better now.
I agree. I think it looks actually more menacing if you want my honest opinion. But listen, all I can say is this. I'm making a bold statement. This is going to be, again, timestamp this at 10:57 of
Time stamping.
yeah, here we
Okay,
go. Click. Resident Evil 2, the remake, is already confirmed as my game of the year for 2019. Okay? I know that's ludicrous considering that it's an entire year away when it comes to game of the year.
First month of the year.
But because I am such a huge fan, outside of Resident Evil 8 coming out in the same year and being just as amazing as 7, Resident Evil 2, the remake, will be my game of the year 2019. And I did a bold prediction in the beginning of this year, at the end of last year, I'm sorry, where I predicted God of War was going to be my game of the year 2018. And guess what, folks? As it stands right now in June 19th, still my game of the year.
Red Dead says, "Hold my beer." You haven't played me yet.
Well, I don't know. We're going to have to see. But listen, Dean, first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to come out and talk everything Resident Evil. I think we've covered everything that we know, everything we don't know, and we speculated a bit. I want to thank the chat for coming out here. It was, again, not a lot of people showed up today, but the 17 or 18 people that did, I love you very much, and I appreciate the support. If you look at my channel, I am literally 7 subs away from 1,000, which is going to be a very emotional time for me personally because I started this journey in November of last year and never thought that I would get this far. If you're new to the channel and you like this kind of content, give me a sub. Hey, if you don't like it, don't give me a sub. I don't want to twist anyone's arm. I don't want pity subs. I want you subbing to my channel because you appreciate honesty and you appreciate someone that has a passion for gaming. This isn't a money-making scheme. This is someone who has been gaming a real long time and still loves it dearly. But more importantly, Dean, I want to say this. If you're in the chat or you're listening to this on the replay, you got to check out CBL's channel. He does so much content and so many different angles of it. If it's not just games, it's game reviews, it's previews of movies, it's trailer breakdowns, it's Dragon Ball Z. He does something with his fiance, which I think is absolutely fantastic, where they talk about baby metal, which I have no idea even what that is, but I watch his stuff. I really think you should get over to his channel. If you're like me, then you're going to like Dean, because he is a quality human being that really goes out of his way to put out honest, clear, precise content. Give this dude a sub. But Dean, tell everyone where they could find you.
Well, I just want to say thanks, Boom, and I really do hope you hit that 1,000 sub mark soon. I know you will. Really hope that happens today, because you deserve every single sub that you get. Like, I knew from when you started your channel, when you were even thinking about it, I knew that you were like perfect for this, because you're honest. You're not someone that's just gonna clickbait and just make false information before getting any like facts. And if you do get something that's a rumor, you'll like definitely make sure people know that it's a rumor and stuff like that. You're not anything like that. So like throwing out false information. So I really do appreciate all the videos that you do. And I said it to you off camera on that I really do appreciate everything that you're doing during E3, because that's where I got my coverage. I watched all your videos.
Oh, thanks, dude. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, because it was helping me stay up to date. I was busy that week, so someone that I can go to rely on for good content. And thanks. So if you're interested in my content, I do gaming videos, reactions, movie reviews, game reviews. I try to do them as often as I can. Sometimes they can be spaced out a little bit between, because I try to do so many different things. But I have a ball doing it. I'm almost at 850 subs. If you do like my content, subscribe. But if you don't have to subscribe. Like Boom said, I only do want people that actually like my content to subscribe to the channel. I don't want any fake subs. I am a big gamer. Gaming is my passion, and I try to cover as much as I can on the channel. I had a great time talking Resident Evil 2. It's been such a long time since I actually had a discussion about the Resident Evil series in such a long time, and I think it's kind of like rewoken something, and I really do want to go back, clear Resident Evil 7, probably take out the old PS1, and probably play Resident Evil 2 before the remake comes out, to refresh my memory. So yeah, thanks again for the invite, Boom. Anytime.
Hey, listen, dude, you know what? This show is all about bringing on quality people who love gaming. Like I said, neither of us do this because we're looking for money. We do it for the love and the passion of gaming. Everyone that's in this chat today, I consider a friend. I really have to say that the last year, well, not even a year, it would be a year come November, since joining this community has been nothing short of the best time of my life, to be completely honest. I met so many people. I was given so many opportunities, and I talk about this all the time, and I know it's going to sound boring, but, a big thank you, of course, to Mooch, who extended his hand and, basically invited me into this community. I'm always going to be extremely grateful to Mel. She invited me to be a regular on Coffee Casuals and Consoles. Her kindness and you, and of course, Bot and Super, you guys welcomed me in, and it was amazing. And sometimes you just kind of want to get out and do your own thing, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm glad that I'm entertaining people. And I said this in the DM last night. As a content creator, I feel absolutely it is my responsibility to bring good, clean, precise, well-spoken content to you on a daily basis. And if you feel that I'm not doing that, I want you to call me out. I want you to say, you know what, Boom, I didn't like that title, or Boom, you're getting a little clickbaity. That's why when my titles say what they are, that's what they are. They may not get a lot of clicks, but it's always going to be the truth and the best content that I could put out there. Once again, Dean, thank you so much for coming on today's show. And I'm going to say again, a big thank you to everyone in the chat. I love everyone, and I want to thank you again. Have an awesome day, and I'll see everybody on Breakfast with Boom this Friday. Got a bunch of great guests, got some real hot button topics, and I'll see everyone there. Have a great day.
See yous.